Welcome back. Well, in the midst of the maelstrom that's happening in Canberra, you might have missed some progress on something that will actually help most of us. That push to stop offshore software companies gouging their Aussie customers with exorbitant prices. The man behind it is Western Sydney MP Ed Husic, and he joins me now. Welcome back to the show.
Janine, g'day, how are you?
And I should say, I know there's a chance of a division, and given the bizarre scenes we've seen today of MPs rushing out the doors, we know you might have to rush in, which I actually think is better use of our taxpayers' money to see you go in to vote than try and leave.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
absolutely.
So I'm going to get the main thing in first. I was going to leave that till the end to liven us up with the good news first, but let's start with at the end. Let's start with the good news. Where are you? We've talked before about your push to get an inquiry over the prices, the extra prices we pay here on software. What has happened? Where are we?
Well, it has been great to be able to talk through those issues over the last few months. In terms of particular, my concern about businesses paying way higher costs for IT, software and hardware compared to, say, their counterparts over in the US. I've been speaking in Parliament probably about 5 or 6 times on the issue, and following discussions that I've had with Steve Conroy, the Minister for Communications, he's agreed and referred to one of the parliamentary committees I'm on, Infrastructure and Communications. He's referred terms of reference to actually kickstart this inquiry and to get it going. So we've now got terms of reference. We'll be calling for submissions, inviting business, the actual IT companies themselves, consumers, to have their say on this issue.
Well, that's fabulous. Now, just let's look at the time frame on it. When do you think, well, firstly, just because we're giving people a heads up, they can start preparing their submissions. I'm sure they're angry enough. When you'll put ads in, when can we expect that to come, and when do you think the hearings will be? What's the time frame we're looking at now?
Well, the submissions they'll be closed on the 6th of July, and what's been interesting to note is, while I can't tell you the submissions, who's put them in, we've already had a flurry of them, about 20 in the few days that from people, and they're quite detailed as well, submissions from people interested in the issue and putting forward their views. And the actual Infrastructure and Communications Committee met today, and again, until it's made formally public, we've been looking at the way in which we'd structure this inquiry. I wouldn't expect this to be the run-of-the-mill inquiry that you get. It will provide a lot of opportunity and scope for people to have their input, and we'll be releasing details on the way the inquiry will be run in the next few days, but the key date's the 6th of July.
6th of July to have your submissions in. What do you mean by the fact it won't be a run-of-the-mill inquiry?
Well, I think we're going to structure this in a way to maximise the input from interested parties in this issue, and there are a lot, and we're going to try and, obviously the terms of reference themselves quite broad. If you the terms of reference themselves have been posted, and for example, we'll look at things from as diverse as from software to games to even e-books and the pricing around e-books, because that's actually attracted attention over in the States with the US Justice Department looking at the way in which competition has been used to, or the dulling down of competition to drive up prices. So e-books will come into the frame as well.
So I'm assuming public hearings after the written submissions?
Yes, it'll be a range of private and public hearings that'll be used, but the public hearings themselves, and I've said previously, look, this is a great opportunity for the big IT companies themselves to educate and inform the public on the pricing structure or the approaches that they take into account in terms of the way they set the prices on IT products, and they should definitely take up that opportunity to explain that.
Well, on that note, when we've talked before, you have had enormous problems getting the IT companies to actually even speak to you. I mean, this is the frustration in it. To get answers, you really had to, you had no other avenue. Have they finally come to the party now?
Well, again, I can't necessarily say until the submissions get posted, which they will in the next 24 to 48 hours. You'll see the type of submissions that are put up, and as they're agreed to, you'll see them come up online and people can look at them. But certainly for those, you know, for the Microsofts, the Apples, the Adobes, Lenovo's, Autodesk, all those type of companies, they should be, as I said, taking the chance to explain from their point of view the approach they take. You know, my big concern, Janine, has been that I'm concerned that this unnecessary layer of cost has been added to business in this country by these prices, that businesses and consumers are shouldering an unfair load when it comes to, say, recouping the R&D costs of these big companies, and that certainly, you know, when you think about it, if one business is using a software program and they're working with another business that other business is also required to take that same program on so that the businesses can communicate effectively together. It's what the economists call network externalities, and I'm concerned that those costs, if businesses are having to take on software because they're business to business having to do so, what cost does that add to business and the economy as a whole? And we need to get to that through this inquiry.
Given this would be welcomed by everybody, as you say, games, e-books, that's the general public, and big business must have huge costs. But one I can see instantly is small business. Given this is a win-win for everyone, if you can bring down costs, what reaction are you getting from the other side of the chamber? I would think that the party of business, or holds itself up as the party of business, are you getting many coalition MPs who are supporting? Are you running into any problems there, or do you think they'll be behind this because it's good? Will we actually finally see something bipartisan here?
Well, there's a lot of focus in this place about the things that divide the parties, but in actual fact, the great thing about this inquiry is it's brought the parties together. There's strong support from the Liberals and the Nationals that sit on this committee to have this inquiry and to ensure that it's thorough and that people's voices are heard. I think it's been great. Paul Neville, the Deputy Chair, National Party member, people like Jane Prentice, who's the Liberal Party member for the seat of Ryan, been very vocal and very supportive. And there are others that are from the industry or from the sector itself that are now in Parliament, like Paul Fletcher, the member for Bradfield. They'll all have a chance to participate. So it's been good that all sides of politics have got a very big focus on this issue.
This is so rare for me to hear words like this. I'm wondering, can you sort of use your magic somewhere else? Can you come up with something else that instead of you all fighting, you agree on, and the public benefits? Have you got any others up your sleeve? I know you've been concentrating on this.
Well, I think we do need to actually work harder on bringing people together within politics for the bigger issue. I mean, you've been discussing, for example, enterprise migration agreements. I think, we should be finding ways to work together instead of scoring cheap political points in relation to that. And certainly I hope, in terms of this humble inquiry, I hope that it does find a way to bring people together to focus, particularly for business and consumers, on some good outcomes. I'm
glad you raised the EMAs, because I wanted to bring it up with you, because it's something that you're in Western Sydney, you're in the heart of an area where the unemployment rate, particularly for the young, is higher than the average. People talk about 5%, they talk about full employment, but I keep hearing from business that it's shocking out your way. Can I just ask you this? Do you think the mining companies are doing enough? I mean, are there people there who should, to be frank, be going to Western Australia or Queensland, or do you genuinely believe that all your high unemployment, there's no one who can get jobs in the mines?
Well, it's a mixed bag of issues. Firstly, I do know of people that have taken up the opportunity out from Western Sydney to go and work over in the mining sector, and it's been great for them. In actual fact, in terms of from my own personal perspective, I'm the son of a welder who was brought into this country to help work on the Snowy Mountains project. So in their own way, EMAs have been good. And actually, my old man worked in Karratha for a period of time in the late 90s as well, when they needed to get projects done, particularly with LPG. But in Western Sydney, there have been some that have gone and there are others that haven't. I would be more than happy to facilitate job expos out in my neck of the woods and to get the mining companies out our way to see if they can help, particularly in my area where unemployment is higher than the national average, to help people get jobs. But the thing about the EMAs is this. You look at everyone's focused on the 457s. In the last financial year, about 56,000 457s, and about, from memory, 13,000 of those in WA, 1,700 on this project, just on this project, which equate to probably about 3% of the national average of 457 visas that have been approved. So it's not, everyone's made a big deal out of it over the last few days, but when you look at it overall, it's small in the scheme of things. But I guess, and this is just from my personal perspective, because it's been a groundbreaker, so to speak, there's been a lot of attention on it. But once, these things get up and running, I think people will get used to the concept of you provide Aussies with the opportunity first to get employed, and if they can't if there aren't enough people to fill the jobs, then obviously we're going to have to find people from somewhere
But
to fill
this is the key. Your comments are absolutely rational and they're right, and I think
sorry about that.
No, that's okay. As I said, this is all quite new to me tonight, bipartisanship and rational comments. But we all agree that if an Aussie can't fill the job, of course, for the good of the country, I mean, we're all in support of EMAs, there should be. But to counter the union objection, as I say, you said you'd welcome expos. Just quickly before we run out of time, do you think the mining companies are doing enough? Do you see people there who probably would be good candidates, but for whatever reason they're not making that move? Do we have to be a more mobile workforce?
Well, we are going to set up a jobs board to allow people to actually register for jobs as well through this, and require the companies to participate in this process. But I reckon they can definitely, there's always room to improve, there's always room to be able to find ways to bring people into these projects. And I reckon they should definitely take up the chance. I think the heightened public discussion on this should provide an opportunity for those companies to roll up their sleeves and get out into the eastern seaboard and find people, particularly those that, as a result of the pressure on manufacturing, people have lost jobs, hungry for work, need to be skilled up, should take the opportunity to go and work in that sector. But can I just say very quickly too, this other point. As much as you'll want to get people from the eastern seaboard to move over, and that's great, for a variety of personal reasons, people may not necessarily want to move to the Pilbara and take up these jobs.
No, I understand that. It's not a simple solution, but there's a lot of young people who don't have ties, and I would have thought there's a lot of candidates for high-paid jobs. But I love your personal experience. Everybody's throwing around the Snowy River scheme, going back to it, and I love that you've got personal experience on it, and congratulations on getting something up that will do us all good. You're always refreshing to talk to after another horrible day in Parliament. I hope they all follow your example. Thank you, Ed Husic.
Good on you, Janine. Take care.
And I'll be back again tomorrow night with our end of week panel, so there's something to look forward to. See you then.